Good morning, fellow Rotarians. I'm Dave Basel. In the absence of our Sergeant-at-Arms, Ron Strobel, who can't be with us this morning, I'd like to kick off the meeting. First up, invocation by Liz Ramsey. Liz?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's bow. Thank you. We'd like to pray for our leaders and those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives with godliness and holiness. God, you have made 324 million of us in the United States and 7.4 billion worldwide. We marvel at the diversity of every aspect of your creation. Father, may we love you as you love us. Give us the spiritual and moral strength to remove the bias and scorn from our communities in order to be more respecting and caring for all people. We know the Lord does not look at the things man looks at. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Help us to seek ways to do good for all people. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Liz. Next, if Jim Lang would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the four-way test. Jim?
Morning. Good morning, Jim. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Four-way test. First,
Is it the truth?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?
third,
Will build goodwill and better friendships.
fourth,
Will be beneficial to all concerned. Thank you, Jim. And now, the Songmeister, Dick Pearsall. Dick?
We're going to sing America the Beautiful today if James wants to put it up. I can sing it.
If he doesn't, what do we say?
We know the words, don't we? Oh, beautiful, for spacious sky, forever waves of rain, for purple mountain majesty, above the fruited plain. Now hit it. America, America, God shed his race on thee, and crowned thy hood with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Thank you. Got it? Got the second verse, okay.
Thank you, Dick. Great choice. Chris Barker is not here. Joe Zapatowski, do we have any guests to announce?
We have our high school science learning group here today, and they'll be coming to the podium shortly. And we have Jim Squires. I think this is his third time.
Thank you. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you. Welcome, Jim. I'm glad to see you back with us again.
Jim, you got a guest right there.
And we will now induct our newest member of the Rotary Club of Hudson, Jim Lang. So, Jim, your sponsor, Phil Warburton, Rich Warfield, and Evan McCauley, if you could come up. Jim, on behalf of the board and membership of the Rotary Club of Hudson, it is a great pleasure to welcome you as the newest member of our club. We look forward to the fellowship that we will share, as well as your participation in many club projects that make our community, our country, and our world a better place in which to live. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to uphold the highest ethical and moral standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and peace can be achieved when business people unite with the Rotary motto of service above self. Rotary activities exemplify the charity and sacrifice one would expect from people who believe that they have a responsibility to help others. Jim, you have been chosen for membership in the Rotary Club of Hudson because your fellow members believe you to be a leader in our community and because you possess the qualities to champion the message and principles of Rotary. You now become an ambassador of Rotary, carrying the ideals of service to all within your sphere of influence. Our community, Hudson, will know and judge Rotary by your character and service. We will also look to you for inspiration as we strive to become better Rotarians. We now ask your sponsoring Rotarian to vest you with the distinguishing badge of a Rotarian, your Rotary pin, and name badge. And we ask that you wear these with pride not only to all Rotary functions, but in your many endeavors as a symbol of your commitment to Rotary ideals and our recognition of your contribution towards a better world. Fellow Rotarians, our newest member, Jim Lang.
That'll work. There you go. Oh, the pin too.
Yeah, the pen. Well, you know, this is the big thing. There you go. Not bad.
All right, thanks, buddy.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Rich.
This is where you get up and say
Congratulations.
3 minutes.
Hey,
Hey.
could you hold that post, please?
Oh.
Dave?
Yeah, sure. He does this all the time. I don't.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Jim, if you'd like to take a few minutes and tell us
Sure.
about yourself.
Thanks, David, and really I appreciate the opportunity to serve, and those are words that I take sincerely and seriously. But to give you a little snapshot of who I am, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. Is that right, Dave?
That's right.
Okay. I was born and raised in the Pittsburgh area, near Pittsburgh, McKeesport, PA. Went to Penn State proud, like Dan Filburn and a few others here. Graduated Penn State in '72. And then was hired by a company called Rockwell International in the sales department for the power tool division that they were starting up to beat Black & Decker to the punch back in the day, whenever Black & Decker was like the only power tool company around. So they hired me for Chicago. I moved to Chicago in '73. Ended up there for a couple years. Met my future wife there. I ended up getting transferred 2 years later back to Pittsburgh. She moved back there with me. She's an accountant, and that is one of the most ingenious moves I ever made, marrying an accountant, because I had no idea what to do on debits and credits. But at any rate, she moved back. We got married in '76, 40 years ago. So we're still married today, which is a milestone in our hearts and minds. But anyways, we moved to Pittsburgh for 2 years, and then I got transferred again to Cleveland as a regional manager for Rockwell. And we ended up living in Middleburg Heights for about a year, and then Brunswick, that's where we started our family. We had 2 children in Brunswick, a daughter and a son, and then we ended up moving to Hudson about 32 years ago, and our youngest child, our daughter, was born in Hudson. All our 3 children went through the Hudson school system and ended up going to their respective colleges, one Miami, one Virginia Tech, and one Penn State. And we, at that point, when Dot we were raising our children, she ended up starting her little own accounting practice because the time constraints were pretty difficult when you're with Arthur Anderson or Coopers and Lybrand. And then I had started my rep business, manufacturer's rep business. We represent products that you see in retail stores, pretty much the same kind of distribution that I was calling on with Rockwell, retailers like Sherwin-Williams and True Value hardware stores in the corporate sense. So I was able to start that business in 1980. And to this day, we still are able to be in that industry. There are very few manufacturers reps left in that in that category, a product. But if you perform a value added, they will come. So that business is still intact. I have an office downtown Hudson, which is right above Salon Hudson in that Lulu's area across near the library, and not there too often because you have to get out there and sell still. It's face-to-face business. So I am actually also involved in a lot of industry associations, HGA, Hardware Group Association, heavily involved in my church. I go to Christ Church Episcopal, and heavily involved in my club. And I'm also very excited to start to work and contribute what I can to the Rotary and be a true Rotarian. So thank you very much. Looking forward to working. I've enjoyed meeting everybody that I've met already so far. It's a wonderful association. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to have you as an official member of the club. Now we have a real treat. As you know, our club is sponsoring not only an outbound exchange student, but an inbound exchange student. And we have the treat today of hearing from our inbound exchange student. And I'll ask Joe Avella to do the full introduction. Joe?
So the Rotary Youth Exchange Program has its beginnings in the 1930s. Today, over 8,000 students per year participate in this exchange program among 200 countries. And we're fortunate this year we have an outbound student, Casey Ackerman, and I sent you her email update yesterday. And today we have our inbound student with us, Jacek Dolkowski, and Jacek is from Poland. He's going to introduce himself, tell you a little bit about himself. Jacek.
Hi. Firstly, let me introduce myself with a Polish accent. Jacek Dolkowski. But that's okay. Actually, my name is Jan, but people in Poland call me Jacek because it's not as official as Jan. But Jan is easier for Americans, so after I heard how people pronounce my name, I started to introduce myself as a Jan. We have small problems with presentation because actually I don't know what happened, but this site, Google site can't load. So probably, I think, sorry.
So we have a generic picture of Poland up here. But
I hope I will be able to show my presentation next time. So here's a photo of Poland. I have 17 years old. I'm interested in music. So yeah, music. It sounds cool, but it sounds even more cooler than if I can show you my, for example, band, and it's included in my presentation. So yes, I hope I will be able to show you this presentation next time and tell you something more about me and about Poland. Thank you. And I would like to thank you for giving me an opportunity of being here.
Thank you, Jan. And now, following our exchange student, we have our service learning students. And Gail, if you would like to introduce everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, Rotarians. We have always had, for many, many years actually, the pleasure of working closely with the service learning class at the high school. And one of the reasons we do that, the primary reason we do that, is because their goals are so closely aligned with what we do here in Rotary and the four-way test. So Lonnie Banner could not be here this morning because she is involved with some sort of English whatever testing or studies, and she actually told me she'd much rather be here. But anyway, I would like to introduce her co-teachers, and Marty Bach is going to take the podium and also introduce the students this morning. Marty?
Well, good morning, everybody. Good to see you. I always get the good idea from here that maybe we should start classes at Hudson with a song. That might be something, and nobody falls asleep then if we do a song. So I might start doing that. So, but as always, want to always thank you for your support throughout the years with service learning. One thing that is really new this year is due to your support, community support, the Board of Education, our administration, is service learning has expanded yet again. So we are now from 65 students up to 90 students. That represents almost a full quarter of the senior class that now has the opportunity to do service learning, which is fantastic. Of course, to do that, that meant that you had to have more staffing involved. So in addition to Lonnie and myself, we have two new teachers. One is Jamie Cosman, who has been here a couple times in the past. He's the other English teacher, complimenting Lonnie. And complimenting me and doing a far better job is Ms. Brittany Amier. So she's now a service learning teacher as well. So there's now 4 of us, so, which is fantastic. So thank you for your support. And the great news is, looking ahead with 90, is Lonnie and the rest of the 3 of us largely have our Appalachian trip in April pretty much locked down. So, because it was kind of daunting, that was a big thing, how we're going to take 90 down to Adams and Brown counties. But we've figured it out. So the biggest thing was the hotel director down there said, can I take like every room in your entire hotel? And he finally said, yes, okay. So we're going to have like Hudson at a hotel for an entire week, just us. So it's going to be kind of interesting and fun. So thanks again for having us, and without further ado, I'll let the students introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their site this fall. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Emily Warfield, Rich's daughter. My site this semester is Trinity Farm Equestrian Therapeutic Riding Center, and their main goal is to acquire kids and adults with any disability and help them ride and then show that they can do what normal people can do, and it makes them feel good. One of my favorite people to work with is Kate, and she's 40 and she has pretty bad Down syndrome. She can't ride on days where it's too hot or really cold because her body can't take it. So she comes about maybe once a month when the weather's just right. And since she can't ride, she works with our miniature horse, Fiona, who's about this big, and she is an accomplished named Donkey from Shrek. And she grooms and pets and feeds Fiona, and it's just wonderful to see her happy and be able to work with such animals. So that's one of my favorite things about my site, is helping other people do what they want to do, and the disabilities are not even shown when they ride, and it's just amazing to watch. My college plans are still up in the air right now because that's just a lot of options, but I plan on just going to Kent State and possibly majoring in photography or art, and that is my game plan for right now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Larissa Steiner, and for service learning, I'm at 5 Point Head Start up in Akron, and there's a bunch of different classrooms, and it goes all the way up to 5th grade, and 2 other girls work with me as well, but they're in separate classrooms. My classroom is full of 24-year-old kids, and they're a handful to work with, but it's amazing just to see all their different levels and what they can learn. And when I go in there, there's a bunch of the girls just run up to me because I'm like female, so they, I guess, connect with me more. But the guys are starting to warm up too, and I think working there is just wonderful because the first week, last week when I was leaving, they thought I was coming back Thursday because I only go Tuesday and Wednesday, and just to see like how in like little time you impact their life, and just like little by little is amazing, and like to see how they grow and like learn as 4-year-olds. And for my college plan, my top choice is to go to Indiana Wesleyan University. It's up in Indiana, and hopefully I'll be able to run track there, so shooting for a scholarship to do that. And I would probably like major in business administration or human resourcing.
Any questions? Any questions for either of the service learning students or the instructors? Thank you very much. Okay, next, if we could have Joe Avella come back up and introduce today's speaker. Oh, you're doing it? Okay, sorry. Ed Sogan. 2 seconds. Okay.
Sorry of a surprise, but the only reason I'm sort of interrupting here is that I've gotten a lot of questions. We've been announcing the plans that we're doing with the schools, and then we're proposing for quite a while now, but of course, until it's in the hub, no one knows about it. So if you saw in the hub that there's information about the schools' future plans with buildings and master plan, actually, Phil is going to speak on the 5th, right? So save all your, or you can ask questions now, but you definitely don't want to miss the 5th because he'll give a pretty good presentation on that. In the meantime, if you want to know about any piece of equipment or any building in this school system, we actually have Chuck Schilling here who knows every single item that's in our campus. So anyway, thanks. I just wanted to make sure you knew that because a lot of questions were coming up about that.
Thanks. Fine Day has been working not so great. We're going to have it every week, so please take, no, okay, forget it. All right, start. A couple of public service announcements. It is homecoming this Friday night. So if you are planning to attend, many of you come to the games, come early. If you're looking at arriving at 6:30 and you don't have your tickets, you'll be waiting in a very long line, especially getting tickets and also parking. So make sure you are there on time. I did pass out, Catherine had gone over yesterday to McDowell, and our writing journals were delivered. Their name tags are on there. You'll see that Jimmy is remembered. This will be his legacy from the Rotary to our 3rd grade students, and they'll be writing in these journals throughout the year. So put these on the refrigerator as a nice reminder of all that Jimmy did for our group and the community. Today it's my pleasure to introduce Katie Schilling. James had mentioned that her dad is here in support, and I've known Chuck a long time, and I've known Katie since she was about knee-height or grasshopper, so it's been a long time. Katie's a native of Hudson, Ohio. She's a graduate of Hudson High School in 2004, where she was an outstanding student athlete in both volleyball and softball. In her senior year, she won the prestigious Ohio High School Athletic Association's Archie Griffin Sportsmanship Award, which was one of the top honors during the school year in regards to our athletes. Katie joined Kent State University's athletic staff in 2009 and currently serves as the Assistant Director for Student Athlete Development. In her current position, she oversees all student athlete development initiatives, including community outreach, career services, mental health awareness, financial literacy, and heads up the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. It's my pleasure to introduce Katie Schilling.
Well, good morning. I want to thank you guys for having me. So, he said point it towards the computer. So a little bit about me. Ed did a great job kind of telling you guys where I came from, but family, I have, an older sister and a younger brother, and then a lot of you guys know my dad. But The reason why I'm here today is because I am a native of Hudson and I love Hudson. My goal is to eventually move back to Hudson. I bought a house in Stowe a few years ago, and everyone jokes with me because I always say, I'm Katie from Hudson. They're like, no, you're Katie from Stowe. I'm like, no, I'm Katie from Hudson. I live in Stowe. So eventually I will be back, especially once I start my family. I definitely want to be back in Hudson. So about 6-7 years ago, I got a GA position at Kent, and it was in compliance. And I thought, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be in NCAA compliance my whole life. I absolutely loved it. And then I started working with the student athletes in our student athlete advisory committee. And I realized, you know what, I really want to start working more with our student athletes because they have so much potential in life. But a lot of them didn't have the guidance growing up to what they deserved. So what I decided to do is start getting involved in many different programs within our athletic department. And then this last year, they made a new position to put all student athlete development under one umbrella and under one person. And they asked me if I would be willing to take on that position. So that's what I do now. I'm out of NCAA compliance. I do miss it at times, but the main thing is that I love working with our student athletes. So a little overview of what I do. I do a lot with career development. We have a lot of career workshops, and I work one-on-one with the student athletes. And my main goal is so when they leave college, they have all the tools they need to better themselves and get a job and get a career. Or go to grad school if that's what their next step is. Personal development goes a lot with our leadership. We work very hard to make them the best leaders on the courts, on the fields, but also in our community and society. So we really, really love going out into the community. We come to Hudson. The football team comes to Hudson elementary schools on Fridays, and they play outside with the kids during recess, and they do reading. It's called Reading with the Flashes. And then we also do Running with the Flashes, where we go to Ravenna, and we teach the kids, their running skills. The track team goes. And then every year with the Kent City School District and Ravenna, we pick one school. And what we do is do Moving with the Flashes. And it's a whole day, and the kids just get to go to different stations and work with our student athletes. So this is something that they take pride in. And last year we had over 2,500 hours of community service between all of our student athletes. So we love getting out into the community. Our big thing this year is our international service project. We're really excited. I'm going to be taking 21 athletes to the Dominican Republic, and we're working with Courts for Kids this year. And what we do is we go and we build a basketball court for kids who are underprivileged and live in poverty, and they don't have a chance to play sports. So this year is our first year, and I'm extremely excited. We're, got a lot of donors in mind that are going to help support this project so that our student athletes can go, because they don't get the chance to do study abroad programs because they're so busy with sports. And so this is something for them to go out, help the community, but also see other parts in different countries. So, but the main reason why I'm here is for leadership. This is something that we take pride in at Kent, and as our student athletes grow, they start to really realize that the stuff that they learned as they grew up is not always the best thing, and that they do have to open their minds and they do have to change. So our 4 domains of leadership are executing and getting it done, influencing, selling your story, what's your why. So that's really our main aspects of our Leadership Institute. And our student athletes, there's about 40 student athletes that go through this institute a year, and it's over 6 courses. So what I'll do today is I'm just going to kind of break it down of the main goals that we try to teach our student athletes through this Leadership Institute. And then we do a lot of this with the coaches also, but our main focus is our student athletes. We build relationship building. What's the glue? How do our student athletes take what they've learned and use it on the courts, use it on the fields, and then just use it in regular life. And then strategic thinking, visioning, and focus. So the first thing we start with is a personal reflection. Our student athletes will answer these types of questions. Why do I lead the way I do? Why do I do what I do? And what they get to do then is we reflect on these. They get to talk in an environment with other student athletes, and they talk about what their answers were, why they do the things they do. And many of them, they do the things they do because it's how they grew up. It's what their parents have taught them. It's what their parents did not teach them. We have kids who, they're first generation college students, and this is something for them that they need to learn. So we try to let them know is you're not who you think you are, and you're not your performance. Your mind has unlimited possibilities, and what leads to that is being in your zone. And what we'll talk about, I'll explain today, is how we let our athletes get into their zone and find their zone. So the next step is we ask them to suspend their beliefs, okay? You have to uncover the things that you thought were what you believed in, and you have to sit back and you have to be willing to change. We let the student athletes know that it's okay to change. It's okay to think what you thought was right maybe isn't right. Or you thought what you think is working might not be working with the person next to you on your bench, or on the court, or on the field. And it's okay to change those type of things. So really finding themselves and unlearning what they know already. So what I like to do usually is play little videos for them so that they can remember the stuff, but I don't think this is gonna work today, but he just says you must unlearn what you learned. So, but that's one of the main things, is really, really helping them understand that it's okay to change. Nope, we might need to press yes or no.
Sorry, you said.
Yeah, you don't need to play it.
So what do you want me to hit, no?
Yeah, that's fine. There we go. So the questions we ask them: what do you want more than anything else? What do you really, really want? And what most of our student athletes come up with are these. They want happiness, they want love, they want everything that every person probably in here wants. They want a sense of purpose. And what we call all these things is authentic power. This is their authentic power. So what we have to then decide is, where does society say to look for it, and where do you look for it? And this is a really hard question for a lot of our student athletes, because at this point, they really don't know where they're looking for it. And usually they say that they look for what other people around them say where to look for it. So what we try to teach them is that you have to look for it inside of you. You have to do what's best for you. A good example was Tiger Woods. He had everything. Everything that society says makes someone happy. He had fortune, he had fame, and he had a family. But deep down, he was not happy with himself. He made a mistake. And he made a costly mistake. He lost a lot of money. He lost, a really good golf career for a while. But because he wasn't looking inside of him and what he really, really wanted. So what we teach them is to look inside of you and don't listen to your surroundings. Don't listen to the people around you all the time telling you this is how you have to be. You have to find out who you want to be because you want to be that person. So your peak experience, and then you have to be in the zone to get there. So what is the zone? I think this is always a really good thing, but Ted Williams coined the term zone. He said that he once saw the seams of a baseball at 90 miles per hour. I don't think I believe that. But all that matters is that he thought that, and he was in the zone enough and confident enough in himself that he thought he saw the seams of a baseball, 90 miles per hour. So letting our student athletes know that being in the zone and having your authentic power, you can pretty much do whatever you want to do. And that's how you're going to succeed when you're out there on the court and when you're in there in life in general. So the next thing is they find out where their happiness comes from. The next thing is, where does your pain come from? If happiness is your power, then where's your unhappiness and unlovingness coming from? And this is also the opposite of what society teaches you, because this all is really coming from inside, okay? What people say to you and is how you're gonna feel, okay? So you can either make the choice, we let them know, you can either make the choice of feeling bad about it or changing it. And you can either make the choice of saying, this makes me unhappy and dwell on it, or you can, turn it into a positive and make it a positive for yourself. So one of the main things once we round everything out, so this is what we just went over is about 2 sessions, so about 4 hours, cut down into about 10 minutes, what I just did. And what we do is we let them know competing versus excelling. We want our student athletes to excel. We don't want them out there competing. Competing is not losing, okay? You're looking at not losing, you're looking to tear others down, and most often you're tearing down yourself. Where if you're excelling, you're going beyond, you're being your very best, you're in your zone, and you're using your authentic power. So a lot of times with our leadership is what we really explain is that, we don't do our team building games anymore where it's let's try to get out of this human knot. Because really that's not teaching our student athletes anything. What we need to do is teach them about themselves and how they can better, because a lot of them didn't have any of this guidance growing up. And then one of the other things that I really, really enjoy doing with our student athletes is called our DISC assessment. This is about a 20-minute survey that each student athlete in the institute takes. I also do this in a work environment too, so we do it with our coworkers. And what the DISC assessment does, it breaks down your behaviors, how you can work with others based on their behaviors, and your strengths and your weaknesses. So what it is this is the DISC model. So you're either a D, an I, a C, or an S. The higher you are, usually up on, like around the circle is how high you are in that category. I'm a DI, but I'm a very high D. I'm a very dominant person. So, and usually once you start working with people and teammates, you can kind of start picking out, okay, I bet they're a C or I bet they're an S. But the good thing about this assessment is it lets the student athletes, it breaks it down. If I'm a D, it breaks it down of how can I work with an S? How can I better work with an S, because we're completely opposite in what we do. So it's really about them learning about how to work with other people, but they can also carry that out into the real world too with them. One thing I stress to them is to keep doing these type of tests. I've done it 4 times. I haven't changed, but I know a lot of people within my department have changed as their positions have changed. So, and that's a good thing, because what I tell them is it's okay to change. That's what we're teaching you guys to do, is to change. So take the time and do these throughout the years. NCAA we're lucky enough that they do this for free for us. And so we can do it as many times with our student athletes as we want. But it explains, the high Ds, you want others to be direct, straightforward, and open to your needs and results. Well, sometimes that's, really hard for a C to do. And sometimes Cs are a lot slower. They do things, a little more patiently. And so for me as a D, I'm like, come on, let's go. Like, hurry up here. So what this does and what it does for our student athletes is really makes them take a step back and say, okay, this person is, different than me, and this is how I can work with them. So that is kind of in a a quick nutshell of everything that we do. But over, this is a span of probably about 12 hours worth of information. But the main focus, here is letting our student athletes find themselves and not listen to, what other people around them are saying. So, those are questions.
Katie.
Yeah.
How do you get the coaches across all your athletic teams to buy into your concepts?
Well, one thing we do is we do have a meeting with all of our coaches, and we usually bring in some sort of speaker who's on the same concepts. So we let our coaches know that they also have to change in the ways that they think, because sometimes what they don't realize is when they bring in these student athletes, on their visits and everything, they're happy-go-lucky, this is the best program, but what happens is our student athletes get there and they're like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not the coach I knew back in the day. And so what we have to really relay to our coaches is, if you want to be the best leader you can be, you have to show your true self. And you have to make changes when these people come in, because you don't know where they came from. You might have not experienced what they knew. So really, our coaches, we have a great relationship with them. So once we bring in these speakers every year, you start seeing a change. Now you start seeing something go back, but I'm very good at being like, that's not what we learned, So I'm like, can you maybe, let's just take a step back and relearn. So our coaches have great buy-in for a lot of the stuff we do.
Katie, how do you?
Katie?
Go ahead, Bill.
Katie, that was fascinating and very interesting. My question, well, it seems to be almost more behavioral science or psychology.
Mm-hmm.
Who designed this?
You know what? The NCAA, so I've gone to about 3 different probably conventions and workshops. And the NCAA this is how they present everything for our leadership. And this is probably new within the last year that they did this. Before, it was all those types of team buildings, let's do these type of things. But what they started realizing, it aligns with their mental health process. And really looking at the student athletes and knowing that they're not all the same, and that a lot of them come from these places that, were very harsh growing up. So what they've done is they've done a lot of studies through all the student athletes, and they've put together programs like this that we're able to learn and then use.
So, Katie, if I were a freshman on the track team, how would I get exposed to this? What would I be attending seminars that you
Yep. So this
on throughout the year? And
this Leadership Institute, it's for sophomores and juniors. So what we do is, as freshmen, we like our student athletes, to kind of get acclimated and not pick up too much stuff, because they're already trying to fit in their 20 hours a week, of their practice time. They're trying to, learn to do community service, and they're going out with the teams and doing community service. So we push everything starting their sophomore year. But what we have the student athletes do who are in Institute is they have to go and they have to utilize this stuff and then come back that next week or our next meeting, and they have to say how they utilized it with their teammates. And
is it
how it
like a
worked.
class then that they
Yep.
that they take?
We have 6 sessions, and it's application based. About 40 student athletes a year do this, and
Only 40.
Yes.
So what about the rest of the student?
the rest of the student athletes, we do just like the coaches. We do one big session that, is kind of in a situation like this, but a little longer, where we explain. We just don't go as in depth. Yeah.
How do they get chosen to be that 40?
They apply for it. So they apply, and then we go through an application basis, and then they have 2 questions they have to answer on what they believe leadership is and why they want to be in the Leadership Institute. And then we go from there, and I narrow them down. So.
This seems like it would be good for all students.
Yes.
Is there anything else at Kent for those who are not athletes that is similar to this?
There are. Kent offers pretty much every program that we offer in the athletic department. But ours is geared a lot towards student athletes with the research of student athletes. So it is hard for me to say exactly what they're doing on campus because we are.
They are doing it.
Yes, they have tons of leadership programs. Yep.
Katie, do you use body language at all as part of the overall analysis of the strategy in dealing with personalities?
Yes. That's something that the NCAA is very big on. And how you use your body language when you're talking to someone, when you're in meetings, what's your facial expressions? What are you looking like? How do you use your hands when you talk to people? So that is, and then definitely also in the career development side of it, we teach that a lot too, so that when they are going on interviews and stuff, they're aware of really their body and what they're doing.
It's very effective. I've used it with lawyers and financial advisors.
Yes.
Very important.
Yeah, NCAA came out, they had a book, and I read the book, and it was pretty amazing, the stuff that you catch yourself doing all the time.
Any other questions?
Okay. And I also do want to thank you guys. I forgot to mention it at the beginning, but I was a recipient of the scholarship from the Rotary Club in 2004. So thank you guys for that also. Okay.
Thanks, Katie. Another outstanding example of the outstanding young people that come out of our community and our schools. And we're very happy that you're still in the area, and we look forward to you actually officially returning to town. Okay. Thanks today to our greeters, Catherine Sines and Phil Warburton, the audiovisual team, Tom Tage, Tom Tobin, James Field, Den Rich, and Ron Barnhouse, and of course, Larissa Steiner, our service learning student assistant for the month of September. Next up, the Rotabuck. Payout is $12, but the jackpot is $529. And Katie, if you would do the honors. 2595. Ah, Mimi.
I'll trade you.
Come on. Oh. Next time.
Okay, with that, we'll wind up today's meeting, and I will share with you a fairly common sentiment as expressed by a former president, Woodrow Wilson. One cool judgment is worth 1,000 hasty counsels. The thing to do is to supply light and not heat. And with that, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.